A lot of time this happens that we do practice a lot of things, we practice hard, we do the hard work, but the results are not exactly what they should have been. And at times, it's the problem in the context of your practice and how do you do it. So in this video, I'm going to guide you, or I'm just going to show you how I practice, and you'll definitely have a lot of nuggets to take from here to improve your practice, to improve your work. Because see, if you analyze, let's say, just two charts every single day for 30 minutes, rather than going through 50 charts in 5 hours, if you do those two charts in 30 minutes with a lot of focus and a lot of depth, you will be in a much better place than the person who is definitely putting in the hours, 5 hours, who's putting in the numbers, 50 charts, but his focus and quality is just not there. So let's begin. And you have only covered till lecture 10th till now, so I'll behave like that. So I'll keep my knowledge that are limited to the lecture number 10, and then we'll progress as we move forward in this journey. I'll give you more such videos. So the first talk that I've selected is Maslow. Now, first of all, what problem a lot of people do is they don't adjust their scale. I see some people post charts, they look like this, their scale is not adjusted. That is how they post. Some people post like this. I can't even see a single candle, right? What is happening? How does it look like? And it looks too cramped. They will fill it up with a lot of drawings and markings. So the first thing you have to do is first you have to select the area that you're going to analyze. So let's say I want to analyze here. I want to study the area of the stock from here till this point, right? So once I've selected, I'll go and make sure that you click on the A here, the auto scale. Fine, great. We have selected this. Everything is visible, right? We can see the candles clearly and all that. Great, now I'll just remove this. So this is the area we have to work with. Go to the text. And the first thing, as I've taught you, is to do what? DNA analysis that you have to do, no matter what instrument you are analyzing, what exactly it is. This is what you have to do. So let's study the DNA of the stock first. How much is this? 11%, 12%, 6, 8, 4, 6, right? Pretty good numbers. 13. Great. So on this, I have analyzed. So what exactly I'm analyzing is, I'm analyzing this expansion and this contraction. And then what happened after that. So I saw the DNA. It's pretty good. It's definitely more than 10%. So the DNA is 12% to 14% in a single candle, right? So that's good. Then let's see what is happening in the contractions. How do you like the candles? The candles of the contraction are small. Great, that is good. In this entire contraction, you see it. And what is the quality of the candles that are moving up? The quality of the candles that are moving up in the up move is also pretty good. Good white candles, right? The green candles, you can say, or the candles in the up move. They have their open almost equal to the low. So that's a good thing, right? And they are full-bodied, good body size. They have less wicks. So that's good thing. And the third thing is contraction is good as well. So this is the analysis that you have done for the DNA. So you write it out. Now you also see how, I've marked the number, where I'm putting the boxes, how do they look, right? Looks pretty neat. Anybody reading it will have a great impression of the person who has prepared this chart, because I believe whatever practice you are doing, this is an art, I would say. So it's kind of an extension of you. If your chart is, messed up, a lot of messinesses and unorganized, that kind of reflects on you. But if it's neat, organized, easy to read, then that's who you are as a person, right? You're pretty sorted, you're pretty simple. And that's what works in trading. So first of all, DNA done. Now let's do the second, which is what? We will see the trend and the structure of this chart that you're watching here, and which will be the number 2. So I'll just copy this and I'll get this number here. So this is what we are analyzing. Okay. So what is the trend and the structure that you see in this entire picture? Clearly the trend is up, right? So we'll mention that. So uptrend. And what is the stage? Stage number 2. What is the moving average slope? 50 and 150 EMA are up sloping. So you take that. Great. So the trend is up, the stage is 2, and the 50 and 150 EMA or whatever EMA. I'm using 200 here. If you're using 150, not an issue. So I'll just write it 200 EMA are upsloping. That's the good thing. Great. So now let's analyze, how these expansions happen. So we have already mentioned that the expansion happened through what? Good bodied candles. And then what happened is we formed resistances. So the second point that we will see, the third point we will see is always see where the major supports and resistances are, where you can visually see them. So I'll pick this. First of all, I'm marking this. I can clearly see it over here. So I'll just mark it, right? I've marked it. And where is the another resistance? I see it here. So I'll mark it. Okay. Anything else that you are seeing? Is this a good region of support? Doesn't look really visible to us. So this is the only area. So we'll mark it. So now we have a zone of resistance drawn from here onwards. Okay, so that has been taken care of. Then we see that, okay, how much was this entire up move that we started from here onwards? Now see, the point is, I can make this count. This will be what, 200%? Or I can say this, 250%. The point is, it's more than 200%, right? So it honestly doesn't matter, right? In the scale of 200, whether it is 220 or 250. You get the point. You get the idea. It's 200%. It's not 10. It's not 50. It's 200. And that's the whole point about that. So you see, you had an entire good run up. Then you consolidated a bit, which definitely did not look like enough. But still you had a trade. Now, how to trade that is an entirely different topic. That is what you are going to master. But you clearly know that, this is not the best, so things may go haywire. And after that, if you see, the up move was not very clean. You had these volatile candles, minus 6% in a day, then minus 4% in a day. That means minus 10% in just a couple of days. That's definitely not good, right? And then we eventually formed a resistance and the stock went into a big range. So the point that you will mention here is 200% plus move. That's what you will write. Happened, due to which we had a relative contraction, consolidation, whatever you refer to that, pullback, you may use it. Okay, so you have mentioned this point. Great. Now see the point to note here is that the principle of polarity that I taught you. So you will write principle of polarity. And what is that? You will see that what happened is the resistance has turned into a support. So there was a resistance here which acted as a support here for the stock, right? So you take note of that. And where did it come? To the support zone and the 200 EMA. Okay, so that's a thing that you should note in your mind that, okay, this is what happened because of the relativity. Then you draw this level also, the level of resistance that you could see. Great. Now what happened is, so the DNA is good, the trend structure is good, the move has happened a lot. You analyze this contraction as well, so you can take a note of that. That what we had on the left hand side, you had a move of, you can measure it from here or you can measure it from here. As I said, this is what, 43%, this will make it 50%. You get the point. It's still the same, right? So it doesn't matter, honestly. So you say that, you consolidated for not a lot of long period of time. So consolidation was not very relative. It should have been more. If we are trading here, we have to be aware of this. That's it. That's what you have to be aware of this, that the move has happened great and the consolidation just doesn't seem enough. So the dynamics of trade management will be accordingly. And you see that, after that, you gave a solid move of what? I would say 28%, but after that, the stock actually went pretty lethargic. This 44% is easy to draw here, but once you were up 30%, then suddenly you dropped to 19. Then you went to 37% up. Then you came back to what? 18, 17%, dropping half of the value. In the hindsight, might look easy that I could have made 40, 50%, but actually it's difficult to manage, right? So you had this up move, and the up move was not very clean. It was pretty good till 30%, but after that was not. So the up move that followed was a bit volatile towards the end, right? And stock eventually went into a long consolidation or long range, whatever you want to say for that. So I've written this here. Okay, so this consolidation has been analyzed, right? Great then. What happened afterwards? You consolidated, you went into a range. Now you can just delete it or you can keep it. So you can keep it here. So it becomes a bit cleaned. Okay. And what is there? Then you had a big range, and a big range found its support at 200 EMA, and that became the bottom. Okay. From there onwards, you will see the moving averages, how they are looking. So you will notice that the 50 EMA, right, the green line, slope turned down and gave resistance to the price. You see it? I'll show it to you on the chart. Where is it happening? See this area, right? The 50 turned down. And after that, what happened? There is one more thing. I'll just use this box here. The 50 EMA slope turned up and gave support to the price. Where exactly is that? So you'll mark that. It'll show. See, the arrows are also not that thick. They are pretty thin, so that the visual appeal is good. And you see the chart gave you, the MA gave you a lot of support. And from there onwards, you had the expansion, and the expansion was pretty clean. See the 38% you got here, pretty clean, right? And see the consolidation that happened afterwards, pretty clean that as well. So you got that move. Now the question is, why did a 55% clean move happen over here? Why we did not have such great down moves? What was the reason? That's a question, right? So the first thing is, event of breakout happened at the location of resistance, which gave a push. Oh, you will say, where is the push? That's a question, right? Now the point is, push will not always be visible to you on the selected time frame. If you see the hourly, definitely you will see something is happening around this blue line. So you just mentioned this point over here. And because of that, event of breakout happened at the location of resistance, which must have given a push, resulted into a good move of 55%, right? So this is about this entire up move that happened over here. Now, once you have done this, you have completely understood this entire study of this contraction, and you have also understood the contraction that has been shown to you here, and you have mentioned almost everything that you have learned till now. It's not much, honestly, but it's a lot of things, a lot of clarity you have right now. Now, again, you might be asking, where to buy, how do I learn all that? It'll take time to learn all that, but definitely you'll go beyond that. So this is how you have to do, and you can also count the number of bases, right? You can incorporate that. So you can say that, okay, there was kind of a consolidation here. So you can mark this as your base 1. You can mark this area as your base number 1. You mark this, I'll just draw a blue line, your base number 2, and this will be your base number 3. And then you add a long range. You may say it's a long base 4, whatever. I'll say it's a range, right? Visually, you can see that these 3 are the bases and this one is range. When you compare this range to this, definitely you are clear what is a base and what is a range. So you add 3 bases, and when the time of 4th base came, it actually went into a long range. You know the reason. If you don't know, you'll know it pretty soon. That's how, this happened. That's why this 55% move came and all that happened. So you have analyzed this area, right? Now what you will do is just click on this camera icon, chart snapshot, download the image in your system and post it in the group. How much time will it take you? Trust me. Not a lot, right? Just see. Shouldn't take more. Let's pick up some other stock. Let's take a different example. Now I've taken the example of Zeal here. So let's say you pick this stock. Now, will you analyze this? No, not this much, right? There's no point. So you take a specific area. Let's say we analyze this. Okay, what happened in the stock? Minus 32%. Can we analyze that? Sure, let's do it. So we'll take this area. I think this is good enough. You can see it, everything, right? So you see this area. And you start with the DNA on the left-hand side. What was happening, where we were. So first of all, we'll do our analysis of the DNA. Great. Assume number it. Let's start now. So the DNA study we are going to do. So let's check that. 16%, 6%, 8%. Pretty neat candles, right? And then, not so neat. So yeah, you had decent candles, honestly. 6, 8, 6, 8, 16 once, 6 here. So I can say, the DNA is good. The candles are 6 to 8%. Fine. And good quality candles, right? With open near to the low or equal to the low. Great, that's what we have noticed. And how about the contractions? Well, the contraction candles are just decent, right? They are just decent, just okay. Nothing too great, nothing too bad about them. So we'll note that. Okay, so I've taken a note of this. And what are we analyzing? We are analyzing what happened here, what was happening in this entire picture. Great. Now let's study the trend and structure. So what was the trend and the structure? Will you just write anything that you want? No. Why? See the moving averages configuration. 200 was downsloping, 50 was downsloping. Then what happened? 200 went into the upslope, 50 went into the upslope. So what will people do? People will say, oh, it's a stage 2. It's a stage 2 which failed, right? Stage 2 here turned into a stage 3, they will say. And then there was a stage 4. It doesn't happen that way. If I showed you the chart here, you would probably be thinking about, the breakout of the range, consolidation near to the range and all that. But actually, it went down. So what is here? So what is the trend and structure? It's not pretty clear. Definitely something was happening. So what we will do is we'll simply go and see where we are. Perspective, right? Where are we? Okay, I see a lot of stuff here, right? I see that monthly is giving me some picture. It tells me where we are. So what we will do with monthly is we'll just use the monthly chart to make a resistance if there is one visible. Is it one? Right? So we will mark this line. Is this also area of resistance? So we mark that. Fine. Now we know where we are in the monthly. Can clearly say that we are in a downtrend on the monthly here. Right? Makes sense? Or if you are here, you are in not uptrend definitely. Great. Let's go to the daily now. So now you know where you are, how everything is. So you just mark this, and this was the area you were analyzing. So we'll just bring together everything. Great. So trend and structure I saw is, first of all, near a resistance which is old, which is not new, in a range on M, that is your monthly. Anything else to mention? We'll see that. And see, the resistance was made in 2022 April and 2022 October. Currently, it's December 23. So almost a year. That's a big time, right? So you were in a range. So now, can you say that the stage 2, the uptrend, holds any relevance here in this area? It doesn't, right? You have the picture where exactly you are. So you mark that. Fine. Then you will say, such a good candle, but where is it happening? Now you are very much aware of that. And then what happened? The price was constantly taking resistances at the area of resistance. So what was happening? You were having push at resistance, which is 1 year old. So you mark that, and you can highlight those areas. Where is the push? We had a push here. We had this push. We had this push. And then we had this couple of pushes here. I'll just mark with one arrow. So you get the point. Okay. And what about the perspective? You can add that as well. I am within a big range of monthly with no trend. It's not that you're in a range within an uptrend, right? Nothing as such. There is no trend. You are in a range. So that's your perspective. So having the perspective is important. And once you have that written on the chart, solves a lot of your puzzle. Okay, and then what happened? You just slid down like anything. And then you see there is a good region of support I can clearly see. So what we will do is we will mark that as well. So we take a note of that. So we have marked that as well. And what happened then? There was a push from the zone of support, right? So now you can analyze that as well. That you had a support, but the support was June 23, and this is what? January 24. 8 months, 7 months compared to the year, right? So this is definitely of much smaller scale, which you will learn very soon. So you can take a note of that. You will write that. Push at support, which is 8 months old. So you get the perspective, right? Between 8 months, 6, 7 months and versus 1 year. So definitely you had a push, the price went up, but then eventually came back down and went for the lower prices, I believe. Correct, it went for the further lower prices. So now you know what happened here, why it happened, why such a big down move happened. And after that, such a big down move, why did you rally up? Do you know how much you rallied up from here? You almost rallied up 30%, and that's huge, right? But that 30% rally happened within the downfall of 46, 47%. That's something you have to take a note of. That's important. So now you have analyzed this. Great. Now you can just take a snapshot of this and take a picture. So now the question is, was this a stage 2? First of all, was this a failure of stage 2? Was this a breakout failure or anything as such? Was it trapping of buyers? Anything that comes to your mind? Absolutely not. You just did not have the perspective to see the chart. And that's why I say you need to have the perspective to build any trade. Now coming back to the chart of MASDOC, let's say you have analyzed this. What other practice is that you don't skip to other stock. You have found a good stock to analyze. You just go ahead in the timeline. So you have analyzed this entire area. Now just skip to the next. What is this? And which comes from here onwards, right? From the breakout of that. Now this becomes your next area to analyze basically. So what you will do is you will say, okay, first I'll analyze this entire expansion, why this happened, what was the reason, how was the DNA, then what was the kind of contraction that we had, which lasted till this point, right? Then you broke above in this candle. So now this area becomes the area to analyze. So let's see how much did you expand. We started expanding from here onwards, and you expanded what? Surprisingly, it's 220%, which was something seen before. Wow. Okay. And look at the contraction. Price came to 200 EMA. Price came to 200 EMA. Made the bottom. Made the bottom. Down sloping 50 EMA. Down slope resistance. Up slope 50 EMA. Support. Look at the candles after that. So now your job is to, why this expansion happened? You know the reason. You have already written it, right? Event of breakout happened at the location of resistance, and the resistance was getting old. It was a big range here, right? And you broke above that, so the DNA at work, 220%. You will have more clarity on this after lecture number 10. But for now, you'll have to just stay with that. And then again, why did you go for such a big contraction? The question is why, if let's say you bought here, why did you only go 9 and 6%? So your job is to analyze this as well. That okay, I'll analyze why such contraction happened. And then after this, why this breakout, as people say, faded or came back in. So you can analyze that. Right? You want me to analyze it? Chalo, let's do it. But first, let me download this so I can post it in the group for you in your Telegram. So you can have this as your reference. Great. So I've downloaded it and removed those drawings. Now we are going to see this expansion. And the point is that, okay, I'm going to explore this area. What happened here, why it happened, and then why this big range happened. First of all, study the DNA. But I'm doing it again here. You don't have to do because you have already done it. So for 17%, 12%, 7%, 9, 10, and 8 again. So in a single up move, you can definitely go 20% and the candles are pretty good. So we'll just write that. You write that for the DNA. So point number 1, always about the DNA. So the candles are what? 12% or so. I can just write 12%. You get the idea. Candle quality is absolutely fantastic. Width open near to the lows. Contraction quality is good as well. So you take a note of that. And a single up move, how much are you going? 20% done. So more than that. Fine. So you take a note of that. You write it here. This is the area you have to analyze. Now, you will see that, okay, what was happening? You came, you made a base. So first contraction you had here, then you had a second contraction, and now you are in the third base or the third contraction. Fine, no worries. And, this was around above 50%. So you contracted for that. You contracted a lot for that. Over here, how much did you contract? 22%. This much contraction happened. Over here, you contracted not a lot, 37% in just a few days. Why is that? We will figure out. Here 51% and a bit longer contraction. But the question is, you went up 28%, but then you just came back 14%. Why is that? How you could have handled it? Let's see that. So I'm going to analyze this. So I'll just zoom into this area a bit, right? Again, you have to adjust the scale. You just can't post the chart in a bad presentation. Okay, so now I'm focused on this. So let's say I'm a trader, I'm trying to trade this. So how will I manage this? How do I know I should be agile with the trade? How should I book the positions early on? So I'll say that, okay, the second thing is trend and structure. So we'll see that. So uptrend and stage 2, 50 and 200 EMA up sloping. So that's good. Now let's get a picture through the monthly. We'll just see. I mean, you surely would have seen if you're seeing my videos. I always make it a point to see the monthly. Always. You just get the perspective. So we'll just have a look at that. And where were we? So we were into the all-time highs here, right? Great. So we'll mention that point as well, that we are into the all-time highs. So no problem as such. So all is good, right? All is good. Great. You went up around 27%, but you came back down 15%. That is the problem we are looking at. You had a good contraction, pretty good quality contraction. And there was this event of breakout at the location of resistance. Okay. So if I'm putting my money, how do I know I have to book at 25% or so? How do I know, right? Because if by end of the day you would have seen, instead of plus 30% up, you would have been up only 15%. That's a loss of 15% of gains. It's never good. But being a student here, what you will say is, we were extended into base 3. For now, you can say that. And relativity was kicking in for a big contraction for the entire up move, right? And how we are extended? Because you are already into the 220%, right? As I showed it to you, the last up move that happened. So you're going over there and you're trading into the base number 3. You have written that. So clearly tells you that you have to be careful or cautious. Agile approach is needed. Active trade management is required. This is important. Now, when you're trading that and when you're aware of this, you can tackle it through the different ways that you're going to learn in the coming days. So, okay, there was the event and there was a breakout. The breakout happened good. The next day you went up, but completely came back in, although there was no such resistance over here. So, there was no reason for a push, but you still had a price just came back in. Why did it happen? There is the reason. And being a trader, you definitely would have booked out somewhere here, 2375 or somewhere. Why? Because you need to be agile and you had to be active if you're trading. Why is that? This is the reason. Similarly, if let's say you were trading here, so this is the analysis for this, then you say, okay, let me analyze this area as well. Now this one was base 1, you may say, breakout after being in a long range, right? So if you are here, probabilities are more that the move will continue and the trade dynamics will be planned, keeping that in mind over this base, right? And that's exactly what happened. You had a consolidation for a 22% up move, and then, you had a move again. Then you had a move again, but then the contraction was big, and eventually you went into a big range. So that was the difference. Why did the breakout fail here and did not fail here? This is the reason over here. Why? Why did you have a 22% up move and a long consolidation versus a 37% up move and a small contraction? That is also a reason that you have to think about. What could be the reason? Why did it happen? And why then a 50% move with such a big consolidation, and then eventually you landed into a big consolidation, right? That is how you have to study. So you see, I've studied this contraction, I've written my thoughts. I've studied this contraction, I've written my thoughts. And it looks pretty clean, pretty neat. So I'll just download it. Okay. And you just post it in the group. That's how practice has to be done. And this tells you, right, how organized you are, how everything is clear in your head. Now, whenever you see a chart, this is the way you have to practice. And this is how you have to write everything. This is the color scheme that I would say you should follow. Pretty minimal. The scale is good. At a glance, I can get an idea what you are trying to do, where you are doing what. Great, then I'll make one more video of this, probably after lecture number 15, because by then the game would have changed entirely. And one more video after this, the lecture number 20. I'll probably give you a sneak peek of how a chart will look like after you have done lecture number 19. Let me show that to you. So this is the chart that I posted, 10th March 2024. And see, this is what you see. This is the level of work that is required after the lecture number 19th and so. And just see how much detail goes into it in a single chart at a single time frame we are studying, right? So the level is going to rise up. So it's good that you adopt good habits from here onwards. And I'll see you in the next video.